Hello, my name is Jacques-Henri Newell-Taylor. Welcome to the Exercise Design Lab and another segment of Neuro-Logic training, exercise designed and explored from the nervous system's point of view. No matter the goal, whether it's strength, hypertrophy, power, body fat reduction, stability, range of motion, you name it, when you're trying to design an exercise from the nervous system's point of view, there are at least 7 characteristics that must be considered. I've been calling these characteristics the 7 principles of neuromuscular orchestration, and we are going to get into the first one of those today. Principle number 1. When training the body, the mind is inevitably and inextricably being trained. In other words, as you are training your body, whether you are strategically doing it or not, your mind is responding to that experience. You are training your mind as part of that exercise experience. Now, what's the evidence for this? Well, it turns out that the very same networks in your brain that allow us to control our thoughts and our emotions and our actions in order to achieve a task, the same areas in our brains that are activated as we're trying to figure out motivation and the behavior that we're going to use in a specific situation and our subjective experience of emotions, those same neural networks are active as we are moving about, as we are exercising more specifically. So there really isn't any separation of the two, the body and the mind. They are active together. So whether you know it or not, whether you're strategically doing it or not, you are definitely training your mind as you are training your body. Now, just from this material, we can see that we have some tremendous opportunities as we exercise beyond just working on our self-esteem, right? I mean, that's important, don't get me wrong, or feeling like you have a sense of belonging. But there are a lot of other opportunities that we have. We can work on compassion. We can work on leadership. We can work on team building. We can work on learning how to solve problems when things are going sideways. We can work on what do you do when you feel really stressed? What do you do when the plan's not going accordingly? What do you do when you get really frustrated? These are all things that we can build into our exercises so that we can continue to train our minds as we train our bodies. We can fortify the mind just as we're fortifying the body. So there's another aspect of this that we have to acknowledge. Sometimes our clients, the self-talk that they have as they're working out might be undermining their progress. If you have someone, for example, who says, hey, look, I'm working on my self-esteem, my sense of self-worth, and the whole time they're working out, they're thinking about how weak they are, how pathetic they are, how they can't even touch their toes, they're so inflexible, oh, how horrible their diet is, and how wonderful you as their trainer are. That's not really helping them get to their goals, right? You have someone else who says, you know what, I'm working out to relieve stress. And all they're doing as they're working out is they are competing and they're stressing themselves out, trying to do better than the person next to them. Or even trying to beat their own personal best all the time. So sometimes the very mental attributes, the attitudes that people have when they're working out are undermining their success. So we need to help our clients figure out how do they leverage the power of their mind as they're working out. Now, there's a lot more support for this idea that when you're training the body, you are also training the mind. We could talk about the cerebellum and glial cells and the hormones that muscles produce while they're contracting that affect the brain and therefore the mind. But I want to draw your attention to something very specific here. What you think about matters because what you think about affects matter. Now, here's what I mean by that. You've heard of something called the placebo effect, right? Well, it's actually the placebo effects with an S. There's not just one of them, there's several of them. But the placebo effect that we're going to talk about is the one where if you think that something that is given to you is going to help you with your pain, it's more likely to help you with your pain. It gets a little deeper than that. Take something like morphine, which we all know is a powerful painkiller. If somebody tells you, I'm going to give you something for your pain while you are getting morphine, it has a stronger, more robust pain relieving effect than if they just give it to you without telling you that. Interesting, right? That is one of the placebo effects, one of them. By the same token, if you believe that something is going to hurt, guess what? It is probably going to hurt more than it needs to. So what you think about matters because what you think about affects matter, affects your experience of the situation. Here's another example. You should Google this woman. Her name is Dr. Aaliyah Crum, and she did some really fascinating research on this molecule called ghrelin. And what she found is that what you perceive, what you anticipate about something that you're going to eat influences your hormonal response. If you think that something that you're eating is bad for you, it's packed with calories, you will have a different hormonal and metabolic response than if you believe that something is good for you and low in calories. That's a really big deal. Again, what you think about matters because what you think about affects matter. Here's another example. If you perceive a situation to be stressful, you can trigger a hormonal axis in your body that actually starts to undermine some of the benefits of exercise. If, though, that same situation, you don't perceive it as stressful, then you get all the benefits of that exercise session. So again, what you think about matters. And we can talk about the specifics of that scenario a little bit later when we start to talk about some of the hormones that muscles produce when you're exercising and the influence of some of these stress hormones on those hormones that are produced. So we've just barely scratched the surface of this idea, this first principle of neuromuscular orchestration. This idea that when you are training your body, you are absolutely training your mind as well. But how do you apply this? What do you do with this information? Well, I keep thinking about something that I've been calling mind flow. And that is the ability to recognize your current state of mind, what's happening for you right now, and to evaluate whether your current state of mind is moving towards your goal or if it's actually undermining your goal, and then having the curiosity and developing the skill to move from where you currently are in a direction that is going to be more beneficial and a building block towards your goals. So the idea that you should just be positive, I think is it's dishonest. It's disingenuous. Some days you just aren't going to feel good. You aren't going to feel right. But the key is developing this skill to move from that feeling, to have the curiosity to see, can I move from where I am right now to a different position, to something that is more positive or constructive. But the idea to try to ignore what's going on and pretend like, oh, everything's okay, I think that only works in limited circumstances. So what does this mind flow stuff actually look like? You notice that I'm not saying mindset. Mindset is the idea that you have this mindset that you're going to hold on to. And what I want to acknowledge is that our minds flow, and sometimes we don't start where we want to be, right? So you want to be able to flow to where you want to go. And then once you get there, as your mind tries to flow away from it, how do you reel it in and bring it back, okay? So we're practicing this idea of mind flow. So how do you apply mind flow? Well, I'll be posting a series of really short videos, really short clips that are giving you plenty of examples of how you would apply mind flow, how you would apply mind flow to every single rep of every single set that you do, and perhaps even that your clients do. And actually, I want to amend that. It's not necessarily every single rep. That would be the goal, right? Just like a goal might be to give 100% effort on 10 reps, right? Initially, you can't do that. You have to work up to being able to do that. Well, it's the same thing with mind flow. You might not be able to concentrate long enough for the whole set, but you might be able to do it on 1 or 2 reps, right? Or on half of a rep. But the idea is to build your ability to train your mind, control your mind. Okay, folks, that wraps it up for this week. But as I said, I'll be throwing up some shorter things probably on Instagram that show you how to apply mind flow. It really is it's a powerful addition to what you currently already do. So thank you. Thanks for making time to hang out. All right. Say bye, Rosie.